Hello guys, Elite Legionarii here. Today I have something pretty rare for Rome Total War here. It's a 31k game involving Egypt, which isn't excessively common because it is not a particularly well used or well suited faction for 31k, but nonetheless can be very very useful in the right hands if it's used properly. This battle was actually sent to me. I'm not actually playing in this battle. It was sent to me by Immortals of War clan leader Spider-Pig, ex-COH member Spider-Pig. Spider sent this to me a couple weeks back. I do apologise, Spider, in that it's been delayed in my getting this up to you or up onto my channel. As I said, I would get it up earlier, but I got a bit delayed with other stuff and other videos, but I have got it now, so hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. And this is a really good battle for Spider-Pig's team. It's not a good battle for the other team. This battle is I'm going to talk about Egypt in 31k, and I'm going to talk about how to deal with Egypt in 31k, or how I believe Egypt should be dealt with in 31k, and just how badly. And I need to say this now, because I'm probably going to get a bit harsh with the enemy team. Now, the enemy team can all be good players, but they did not play good in this game, and I'm not trying to trash talk them or put them down, okay? Please don't think I'm doing that, because I'm not. But I'm just saying they played extremely poorly in this game, given the fact that they had all the advantages. For one thing, let's just have a look at the builds for a start. We have 6 chariots and 14 archers. This is basically the exact build that Egypt will always bring. You also may notice that these units are reskinned. I've got the Aragorn skin mod pack on again, just for a bit of fun. So he's got 14 Pharaoh's bowmen and 6 Egyptian chariots. That is Spider-Pig's army, and that is fairly exactly typical for Egypt. Next to him we have OTD Pen Copsman. He's playing as the Scipio Romans, and he's got, I believe it's 6 Praetorian cavalry, 1 Roman archer, and the rest are urban cohorts. Sorry, wait, 4 archer, 1 Roman archer, 3 archer auxilia, and then the rest are urban cohorts. Now, I don't understand why Copsman has brought archers. When you have an Egyptian player on your team, you don't need to bring archers unless your opponents bring something that's known for bringing archers or countering with archers, which you can tell by the numbers, but isn't usually very common, because he's going to have 14 archers, so you don't need archers. In almost 95% of the scenarios, you don't need archers. I don't know why Copsman brought them. I know OTD members always bring archers, so I suppose that's why. But he's really does not need to do so, because the archer department is well covered by Spider-Pig. But he's done so anyway. Cleo's also done the same, but he's brought Rhodian slingers, which is an interesting choice. Rhodian slingers work really nice here. So this is Greek Cleo Menace. Rhodian slingers work well against urban cohorts, so I can understand Cleo's thinking there. But in all honesty, I probably wouldn't have bothered with them either. I probably just would have gone for more infantry, just because the sheer amount of missiles that Spider-Pig has brought makes bringing a whole heap of missiles for the team not necessarily all that necessary. But at least you can use Rhodian slingers to really rip up urban cohorts and concentrated fire attacks, as we saw in the final battle. Finals of that tournament battle used by Heraclius. So this somewhat makes sense here what Cleo was bringing these guys for, but overall I probably wouldn't have bothered. And then the rest of Cleo's army consists of a militia cav unit as general. That's just for mobility, to keep his general safe. And then the rest are Spartan hoplites. So he's got, I believe, 15 Spartan hoplites. I really like this reskin. The only thing I don't like is the fact that they do this stupid 300 thing and don't give them armor. I don't know why people have to have that silly look. To me, it's just a stupid look. The Spartans look so much better when they have their bronze plate armor on, or chest armor on. If you look at them from the back, though, they do look awesome. That's much improved upon the base game. But if only the person who made this mod had put proper armor plate on the Spartans, like in real life, it would have made them look more epic. On the right side here we have someone called HomerSimpson. I have no idea who this person is. If you do know who that is, you can tell me. He's got 6 Praetorian cavalry, and then he's done something really weird. He's brought 12 Praetorian cohort, which I must admit with this mod do look very, very cool. Not quite as cool as the urban cohorts, but they still look good. but I'm not really sure. Maybe he was trying to challenge himself, but it's not a good idea given that one of the players on this team is using Egypt, and you need all the infantry help you can get when one of the players is using Egypt. So doing this is not a good idea, if you ask me, at least in this scenario. He's also brought 2 archers. Again, I don't understand why they've brought so many archers, missile units, at least apart from Spider-Pig. Spider-Pig's got 14, and then between Copsman and this guy we've got 19, and then with the slingers here from Cleo, it's 23 missile units, so they've definitely got the missile advantage. But I don't really sort of understand why they brought so many, because I'm sure they were looking at the enemy numbers and speculating upon if they were bringing archers. And if you look at these armies here, they have not brought any, so they've got a little too much missile if you ask me. But never mind, you can still make that work. They've still got enough stuff. Okay, on this side we have Brotherhood member Spartan Commander with his typical setup here. He's using the Julii Romans. He's got his typical build, which is a 13-6 in the Legionary First Cohort as well, which looks really cool. I like their cape. So that's his build here on the left with the Julii. Then we have Lion Dwarf for the Brotherhood clan. I believe his build is 18-2, obviously looking to counter Cleo and the Spartans. And then we have Wolves Capi here with the Brutii Romans. I think he's 14-6. Yes. And then we have Brotherhood member Princess Luna. I think it's just Luna. He's got an early legionary first cohort, and then the rest are urban cohorts. So it's 13-6 and 1 early legionary cohort. So that is the enemy team. Now, as I said, I'm going to get pretty harsh with these Brotherhood guys in Wolves Capi. Again, these guys can be good players, but they just didn't play very well here. They read it all wrong. They dealt with us all wrong on so many levels in this battle. And my way of commentary is I've got to commentate exactly how the battle is. I'm not trying to trash people. I'm not trying to talk people down. Believe you me, I'm not trying to say I'm better than other players, because I've been playing pretty crappy at times of late. I'm starting to get better again, but I just got to tell the commentary as it is, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to pause it and we'll start. Now immediately with an Egyptian player, you've got automatically your team is going to have the infantry disadvantage, and these guys have the infantry disadvantage. These guys have a whole infantry army extra. They've got 14 infantry more than this team, which is a huge infantry advantage. So that's something to take note of. Also, Cleo has taken the Greeks, most likely with the thinking to compensate for the lack of infantry by having the strong Spartans, which can handle extra infantry, which is good thinking on Cleo's part. But regardless, that also means they've got less cavalry. So only they've got the 6 chariots and 12 Praetorian cav versus a total of 24. 20 Praetorian cavalry. So these guys, the Brotherhood and Wolves Capi, have a total advantage in infantry and cavalry. Now, I'm going to pause the game before this gets going. I want to look at what's going on over here and how these guys are dealing with Spider-Pig. Now, I'm going to give Luna the benefit of the doubt, because I know he's only been playing 31k a short time. And I doubt he's played against Egypt very often, so I understand him not knowing what's the best way to deal with this. But the problem here is he's formed himself up as if he was going to face an infantry army, but he's not. He's facing Egypt, and Egypt will never bring infantry. They might bring a couple of pikemen to screen their archers occasionally, but they'll almost always bring 14 archers and 6 chariots. So he doesn't need to form up like this. What he needs to do is stretch his guys out so that they've got a good wide coverage, and then he needs to rush against the Egyptians, using his infantry to push them back, keeping the infantry at the front so that the archers can't get flank shots, while Wolves Capi and him combine their cavalry and put them into a tight packed formation, not in wedge formation like this, with guard mode on. That will defeat chariots. These 12 cavalry combined with these infantry in a rush here they'll make sure that Spider-Pig can't use his chariots easily, and he will have a hard time using his archers correctly, because what you want to do is you want to overwhelm. You want to make Spider Pig do a crap load of stuff all at once. You want to really stretch his micro here, because that's how Egypt does its stuff. It skirmishes, it spreads out, and it chips away and tries getting flanks. If you pressure Egypt with lots of cavalry pushing and infantry pushing, it's hard for him to get into a position. And it's not going to punish you in the other areas of the battle, because you still have the same amount of infantry to counter the opponent's infantry. And that's the infantry and cavalry here. And that's the thing. So the mistake you're seeing being made here, and it's a very big mistake by Capi and Luna, is they are not going to push at Spider Pig. So Spider Pig is going to be able to do exactly what Egypt wants to do, and he's going to be able to flank around, he's going to be able to shoot and skirmish away, which is everything Spider Pig wants to do. It's Christmas for Spider Pig, and he's even got the snow. I'm just talking crap now, but this here by Luna, honestly, these guys should just pack their cavalry in tight, no gaps, put them in guard mode, get the infantry, stretch in one big wide line, and just flat out rush. Really put the gas down here. The only cavalry that's really going to be able to counter here is Copsmen and the chariots, but if they do this right, they'll have the extra infantry to help, because Capi will be able to use his infantry to keep these infantry of Copsmen busy, and these guys will have all the infantry as well as 12 cavalry to push all this back, and that will give them the advantage, but they're not going to do that, and that's the wrong move. Egypt needs to be overwhelmed through pressure of rush, and you need to try and overwhelm someone's ability to micro. If we look on the other side, we're seeing more mistakes too. If we look at Lion Dwarf, he's rushed up here with his formation here, and Cleo's rushed him in typical Greek fashion, which is good for Cleo. This is what Cleo wants to do, because he knows his Spartans will win, and he's going to push forward. What Lion Dwarf needs to do is he needs to unload his peeler, as many as peeler as he can, into the front line to weaken it, and then he needs to start flanking around and stretching out Cleo's lines. This is completely doable for these guys too, because they've only got one army of infantry over here to focus. So it's entirely possible. Even Luna could send some of his infantry to help here and still have enough to do the rush I was talking about against Egypt, and they could help stretch Cleo's lines, spread them out. If Cleo gets to fight you in one big clump, he's just going to rip you to pieces, because Spartans will win that way. It's what they do. Also, what's happening here too is we notice throughout this fight, Spartan commander takes a very passive role in dealing with this guy Homer Simpson here, which is another mistake, because this guy is using Praetorian cohort, which means every single one of Spartan commander's infantry is superior. It has greater peeler, better at throwing peeler, it has greater morale, it has greater attack, it has greater defense. He should get aggressive and push him aggressively and push him hard, because he'll beat him. Pound for pound, he'll beat him. Control his peeler carefully, and he will definitely win that infantry fight. And they need to do it, because he wants to try and get onto Cleo's flank. And these guys over here need to be rushing. They need to put Egypt out of action. Because if we look here, Spider Pig, as I said, is doing exactly what Spider Pig wants to do. He's flanked around, and he's got very little cover here. Most of his chariots are over here. He's got 2 chariots here, and third one over here, which means he's only got 3 of his chariots over here. Actually, no, 2 of his chariots over here. So again, a good cavalry push in this direction, in tight packed formation, would drive the chariots back, and he'd be able to clear out all these missile units. And if we look, his chariots are quite far behind. We look over here, Capi charges in here, but the thing is, they're not coordinating their attack. Luna needs to have his cavalry with Capi. They need to be going together, because what's happening here is the chariots combine with Copsman guys. If they hit one of these groups of cavalry on their own, they will rout them. They need the numbers, and they need this infantry. This infantry should really be going at it, because, again, Wolf's Capi can keep OTD Copsman's infantry busy with his own infantry, while these guys, Spartan commander pressures Homer Simpson, and Lion Dwarf stores Cleo, and they really need to pressure over here, and they're not. This infantry's not doing anything. It's just sitting here being outflanked and shot to crap by Spider Pig. And it's not doing anything. And as you can see, Capi makes his strike here, and he's outnumbered for one, and he's going to get charged here, and he's going to lose, because he's just fighting himself, putting himself at a disadvantage here. He's outnumbered, he's not supported, and he's stretched from his own lines. So that's going to make it all those factors are going to work against Capi's cavalry, and he mass routes. He brought some infantry to back up, but it wasn't enough. So that was well countered there by Kotzman and Spider Pig. If we look on the other flank, again, look, if you look at Lion Dwarf, he's just sitting here, and he's not even using Testudo very much. He's only using a little bit, and Cleo is just pushing in here. Spartan Commander, as you can see, he's still just sitting here. He needs to compensate for the fact that things are not going good on this flank, so he needs to kill his opponent quickly, because his opponent is weaker, quite a bit weaker than him in terms of infantry. And Spartan Commander can easily win this, so he's being too passive, if you ask me. Really needs to put the pressure on these Praetorian cohorts, because they will lose to his urban cohorts, which are a superior unit. We'll look over here, as you can see, Luna, he's taking a whole lot of archer fire. He really needs to stretch those lines and put the pressure on here. He's still got enough infantry to do this, and he's still got cavalry here as well. Capi has lost his cavalry, which will make it a lot harder now, but it's not insurmountable for them. But letting Spider-Pig sit on this flank like this and do this to him while he just sits here is exactly what he doesn't want to do. You can see him charging in here to back up Capi here, but he just puts himself in the line of fire of Pele, you see. So he's going to lose a lot of cavalry doing that, and then he's going to get countered as well. All the while we look over here, we can see a flanking move by the Praetorian Cav of Homer Simpson and some archer moves here. Again, Spartan Commander really should just put his hammer down here, because their team is losing everywhere on the battlefield, and I mean everywhere. Cleo is destroying Lion Dwarf. OTD Kotsman and Spider-Pig are destroying Luna and Capi. So the only place where there's potential to, get the situation into a favourable scenario for the team is with Spartan Commander, and he's been too passive and he's not doing anything about it. And that's the thing, when you're in a situation like that and you see those things going on, you've got to read the battlefield and see that, shit, it's not going good there, it's not going good there, but there's a chance here. You've got to do that, and if you don't, then you're just going to steadily dwindle your team's strength away until you are beaten. And if you look over here, some nice chariot action here, supported by Kotsman. Kotsman's backing the chariots well, and we're seeing mass routes initiating all over the battlefield. Luna's trying to support here, but his flanks are absolutely horrendously turned now, and he's getting friggin' 17 archers in his back. He's getting absolutely turned to Swiss cheese by these archers of Egypt and the few of Kotsman. And this army of the Julii is just going to get turned into dust. And again, there's enough infantry here from OTD Kotsman to busy it up. Kotsman should just pull back and just continue to skirmish. Let these guys just get chopped up by the archers. Cleo, as you can see, is just pushing it on Lion Dwarf. Lion Dwarf has not done anything that remotely works against Greece. He's just sat there and allowed Greece to push in and do what Greece does best against Rome in that kind of formation. You need to spread out, and you need to spread the Spartans out, and you break their lines up. And if you don't, you're going to lose. Over here you can see a cavalry fight's initiating between Spartan Commander and Homer Simpson, and it's pretty even for the most part. It looks like it's actually going slightly in Spartan Commander's favour, and yeah, actually Spartan Commander has managed to win that, so very good. But Spartan Commander is stretched his infantry all over the place. He really should have put the pressure on earlier, because he would have won, because he has better infantry. As long as he controlled his cavalry properly, did good charges, he would win, just because his infantry is better than those Praetorian cohorts. But he's going to win anyway, but it's too little too late. Cleo is still kicking ass through here and ripping up Lion Dwarf's army, which is very in a vice here, really. And Cleo's got these three guys free, and as you can see, combined cavalry strikes and chariot hits mixed together with Spider-Pig's archers, using fire arrows to lower morale and some to get hits with regular arrows, has easily destroyed Luna's army and Capi's army, and this flank is completely caved in. So even though Spartan Commander is going to win his fight, it's too little, too late. He took too long to put the pressure on Homer Simpson here, and as a result, Cleo has got time to organise his pikes and hold off this group, and then his allies can come and help him. Even though I think Cleo's actually got enough Spartans to probably hold these guys effectively on his own, with just maybe a little bit of support here. But the slingers, as you can see, are still in the background. I actually didn't really notice what they were doing most of this fight, probably just shooting up infantry units. Again, Rhodian slingers with high upgrades focus fire on urbans, even on the front, really rips them to pieces. So I can see why Cleo brought those. But again, probably given the sheer amount of missiles, it probably wasn't necessary, but whatever it was necessary, they did. Now, here you can see Spider-Pig just brings his chariots near. That's all he's doing, just to get the scared by or frightened by chariot effect. and that actually causes a mass rout on all of Lion Dwarf's forces here. So this was a complete destruction of the enemy team by Spider-Pig and basically Spider-Pig's team. But I'm going to be honest and say that probably the biggest part about this loss was really just how badly the enemy team played. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, okay? I mean, I have played as bad as this sometimes before. I'll admit I've played some horrendously shit games and made some very, very dubious, crappy moves myself. So please don't think that I am making fun or trying to mock these guys. I'm not. Honestly, it's very easy to make these mistakes yourself, but I just had to point out that the biggest factor that caused these guys to win, apart from working well together, was the fact that the enemy just was terrible. They performed very bad in this battle. If we look here, Spider-Pig's done great, 1,800 kills, but to be honest, he had no serious opposition to his Egyptian army. He basically got to do what Egypt does perfectly. He was able to flank around, get back flank shots, skirmishes, and support with his chariots. He was not pressured in any way, shape, or form. Capi and Luna could have spread those infantry units wide. Capi could have backed him with some cavalry. They would have had 12 cavalry against the chariots and the rest of the Egyptian army. And again, you can defeat chariots if you put your cavalry into tight order with guard mode on. The chariots will not be able to win against that, and you've also got infantry backing it, so you'll be assured of a victory there. It would have forced Spider-Pig to skirmish back and retreat and kite and possibly make a mistake somewhere in there, just because he'd be overwhelmed by all these things he's got to do. Lion Dwarf was obviously made a build to counter Cleo, but he didn't do anything the way you're supposed to in dealing with Greece. He just sort of lined up, and he was too tight and too ordered, and he just got overwhelmed and cut through by the Spartans in typical fashion. He didn't try flanking. He didn't try breaking up Cleo's lines. He didn't spread himself out. It wasn't the best formation for taking on Greece, and he could have fallen back or used more Pila, more Testudos, I think. Ultimately, his job really should have been stalling, which he was doing to a certain extent. It just wasn't very well done, and Cleo rolled over his army very quickly. Copsman backed up Spider-Pig nicely with good cavalry charges, and his infantry was there in support. If we look over here, Spartan Commander is the only person who's made over 1,000 kills, but he needed to go quicker against HomerSimpson here, because he had 14 better infantry. So, I mean, these guys had 14 less infantry because of Spider-Pig taking Egypt, and then they had 14 worse infantry with this guy taking the Praetorian cavalry. So the infantry advantage was absolutely with this team here, and then the cavalry advantage was also with them. The only thing these guys had going for them was their crap ton of missiles, which if they'd used their cavalry advantage correctly and pushed them and drove them back, it would have been nullified. As well as the infantry advantage to back that. So, in all honesty, yes, these guys played well. Spider-Pig did some nice skirmishing, he did some nice flanking, he used his chariots very conservatively and well and timed all his strikes good, and Copsman backed him up. Cleo just pushed in and did what Spartans do best, and this guy kept Spartan Commander busy. But ultimately, I think half the loss, or even more than half the loss, probably is mostly due to this team really not having any coordination or strategy at all, and simply I don't think they knew how to deal with Egypt. But I'll make the exception because I know Luna's not been playing very long. But these other three probably should know how to deal with Egypt. It's a skirmish faction, so you don't want to let it skirmish, you want to rush it, you want to pressure it, and you want to basically overwhelm it because it's got no infantry. If its skirmishers get into a position to skirmish, they do a lot of damage, and you don't want that happening. Anyway, if we look here, these Egyptian chariots really did a nice job. Very well done on Spider-Pig's job here. He's got a lot of kills with them, caused some nice mass routes, and used them really well. But all his archers have clocked up some good number of kills as well. So, overall, a nice game. Thanks for sending it in, Spider-Pig. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I think, again, if these guys like Spartan Commander, Lion Dwarf, Capi, or Luna watch this, I'm not trying to trash you guys, please. I'm not. I'm just saying that as I said at the start, I have to look at a battle and commentate it as it was, And I mean, I've made mistakes on comparable levels to that in battles, so, I'm not trying to put you guys down or blow my own trumpet or anything like that, because that's not the case. I just have to when I do a commentary, I want to do it so that I'm doing it as it is, and I say this person did good or this person did bad because it's just what I'm seeing on the screen. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon next time.